back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and every week we try to give you some information that's going to help you with real estate. That's mostly what we talk about here on the show is real estate. Today, I've got a realtor joining me, Donald Pizzi from Register Real Estate Advisors. And what makes him so different than all the other realtors out there is that he owns a company called Property Consulting Group. And so today on the show, we're going to talk about property taxes, all about property taxes. And the thing about it is he understands property taxes. He has his company that does this, and then he does home sales as well as a realtor, and so he has a really good understanding of what the true value of your property is, and can help you fight the taxes if you need to. Then can help you sell it because he's familiar with the property. It's just a win-win. It's just a win-win, Donald.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. So if you've got a real estate question, give us a call 844-788-9444. We're happy to answer your real estate questions right here on the air. 844-788-9444. And as always, you can go to HoustonRealEstateRadio.com and see all the videos from all 4 years that we've been on the air. There's just so many topics out there. So the topic today is property taxes. So, Donald, I know that your company focuses mostly on commercial real estate.
Right.
And we don't talk about a lot of commercial here at Houston Real Estate Radio. It's mostly consumer focused because the audience is consumer. But we talk about commercial a little bit, and probably should talk about commercial more. I want you to start with talking about the timeline for property taxes, what all goes on throughout the year.
Sure, no problem. The timeline starts on January 1st. January 1st is the assessment date. So when you receive your notice of value in March or April, they're valuing your property as it stood on the first of the year.
Okay.
So that really comes into play for somebody, for example, who might have a home under construction or something. You want to keep that date in mind. So if the assessor comes out in April, takes photographs of your property, you know that on January 1st, it was a different situation.
Right.
You can show that information to them.
If it was just a lot on January 1st, you're just paying taxes on the lot.
Yeah, you should be.
And then the next
right.
year, you're going to pay taxes on the house.
Right. Or even if the house was 25% complete, they should be assessed at no more than 25% completion.
Right.
The value notices, as I said, come out in March and April. So you want to keep an eye out for that.
I got those.
Most of us do. Most of us do. And the deadline to file your protest for most property owners is going to be May 31st. There might be a later deadline for a few people who were noticed later, but for the most part in Texas, it's going to be May 31st.
Okay.
Once you file that appeal...
So you cannot appeal. You have to have had it filed if you're going to appeal.
At this point, yes. For most property owners, if you've missed that deadline, you're probably not going to be able to appeal it. Right.
Okay.
But once those appeals are filed, then the hearings take place during the summer. So there's a two-step process. There's an informal hearing with the appraisal district. A lot of property owners go in for that initial hearing, and they sit down with an assessor, and hopefully you can work out a valuation that everybody's happy with there. If you're not happy with there, then you can move on to the appraisal review board hearing. Sometimes we call those formal hearings. At that hearing, you'll sit there and you'll present your evidence. The appraisal district will present their evidence, and then a panel of 3 people will make a determination. Once those hearings are done in the summer, then the school districts and the taxing entities get the tax roll, and during the early fall, they're creating their budgets and setting tax rates that they're going to be sending out those nice tax bills to you for.
Yes.
And then those bills,
don't we love to get those?
We all do. And those bills are going to come out usually toward the end of September and October, and they're due on the 31st of January the following year.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about the deadline to file the protest. We're past it now, but if you did want to file, you just had to fill out the form and send it in, right? Or go online?
That's right. So all you have to do is
they
file
mail it
that
to you, so they make it pretty easy.
They try, they do.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. We've had a lot of flooding issues, obviously, in Houston.
We have.
So there are people who are living in the upstairs of their houses. If they're lucky enough to have a 2-story house, this is like the best time ever to live in a 2-story house. Like most time you want to live in a 1-story, this is like the best time to live in a 2-story because a lot of people are living in the 2nd story right now. So as you're living in the 2nd story, the bottom floor has, up to 4 feet high missing walls, missing cabinets in the kitchen. It's been gutted because of the floods. Now, can you get your property taxes lowered because you're not living in the full house?
The problem we have with this situation now, especially because the flooding happened in, I think it started in April and then in May, is that these properties are assessed on January 1. So when you assess it on January 1, you didn't have any flood problems.
Right.
And the way, unfortunately, the tax code reads is that that's how it's supposed to be assessed. So you're really not going to get any benefit, or I shouldn't say benefit, any relief from those flooding problems. I always tell people to go ahead and...
Even though it hugely damaged the value of your house.
It did. And I always tell people, go ahead and present the evidence and see what happens. But the way the tax code's written, it's really not supposed to be considered.
And that would be, if to get that changed, it would be a legislative issue, right?
It would be.
So... okay, so even next year, they won't get any relief because by January 1st, they will have had all the renovations done. We'll be back to a full house on January 1st when they check it again next year. So even next year, you won't get a break in your taxes.
Unfortunately, that's probably true. Yeah, unless you have some...
Don't do your repairs until January 2nd.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Okay, so for commercial properties, it's a little bit different, though.
It is a little different in the sense of a lot of commercial properties are valued on income. And so if you have a commercial property, let's use a strip center for an example. If you have a strip center that had some damages and perhaps there were some issues with rent being paid or things like that, because that particular property is valued on income, the damages may be reflected in the lower income numbers. And so from that standpoint, it may be a little different for commercial. Now, the rules aren't different, but maybe because the valuation method is different, then it might be a different outcome.
Okay. All right. If you're doing your own property tax appeal, if you've sent in the form, you've got the date scheduled for the hearing, and you're doing it on your own, what can you expect when you walk into this?
Well, it can
be a little intimidating if you've never done it.
It could be, yeah. It's never fun to go into your first one, but it's not quite as bad as a lot of people picture it out to be. You have that initial informal hearing, and usually that's just a one-on-one with an appraiser from the appraisal district. After that, if you're going to the formal hearing, each county does it a little bit differently, but we'll use HCAD for an example. You'll walk into a room, and it'll almost look a little bit like this situation where you have a desk and you'll have the appraiser on one side and you'll be on the other. And then at the other end of the table, there'll be a panel of 3 people, and those are the ARB members. And those are the group that's
And what's ARB?
The Appraisal Review Board. Okay. And those are the individuals who are going to hear the case and then make a determination of value at the end of the hearing.
Okay.
And it starts off with everybody gets sworn in. They read in the property record, and then the property owner side gets to present their evidence. The appraisal district follows, and then the property owner will get a chance to give a rebuttal. And then after that, the testimony...
Sounds intimidating. Let both parties go first, and then the homeowner goes last.
Every time you go in, it feels a little bit different.
Be tough, people.
Yeah,
fight it.
Well, it's always good to be curious and keep your cool, but you do want to be a little assertive. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. When we go to close on a home, a certain amount of money is paid for the property taxes from when the seller lived in the home for that calendar year, so that when October comes and the new buyer gets the bill, the seller's already paid for the time they lived in the house, and the buyers pay the rest of the bill that's due. For the following year, if they plan based on that tax amount, it could go up. They should plan for a little more, right?
Absolutely.
Especially first-time home buyer with a tight budget, or someone with a set income. Absolutely.
For a first-time homeowner, or for anybody for that matter, I would always recommend, what you paid for the home. I would always recommend budgeting for the taxes to be based on that value. If they don't value it quite that high, then great.
Then you have extra money left.
Exactly. But at least you're prepared and you don't get hit with
if you escrow, I've never really calculated this, so I don't know. If you escrow, do they budget it higher automatically?
I think that's really going to depend on each mortgage company.
Yeah, each one's different.
Each one's different. So,
I think it seems like when I have a mortgage and escrow, I get like a check back, like there's a cushion there. So I bet they do. I bet the smart ones do.
We hope.
Okay, give us some information about how consumers can call you if they want help protesting their taxes or anything else, other questions. You, of course, have access to MLS information. You can send them the data they need to fight their taxes.
Of course. Of course. Our office website is proptax.net. Phone number is 281-880-6500.
All right, Donald Pizzi, he is with PropTax. proptax.net, proptax.net. He's also a realtor over at Register Real Estate Advisor. So we're happy to have him over here because I tell you what, these analytical guys and gals make really good realtors. We have one that was accountant for 20 years, and I tell you that those analytical people make really good realtors. So, all right, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors here on Houston Real Estate Radio. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Imagine you and your family return from a tropical vacation to find that one of your pipes burst, flooding your entire house. Are you fully covered? Will you only receive $100 for your TV that cost you $2,000 just 2 years ago? Will your insurance company pay for you to live in a hotel while your home is being repaired? What if on that same trip you lose your wedding ring? Will your home insurance coverage replace that as well? All insurance policies are not created equal. If you don't know the answer to these questions, you're not alone. Most people don't understand the gaps in their coverage until it's too late. Call Goosehead Insurance today and let one of our agents review your current policy to ensure that you are fully covered. At Goosehead Insurance, we understand the power of choice. Instead of working for a single insurance company, our agents have access to over 20 A-rated carriers. This allows us to craft a policy to fit your particular lifestyle, budget, and needs. It also enables us to reshop your policy in the future, if necessary, saving you time and money. No need to look for another agent. At Goosehead, we've got you covered. Our agents will walk you through each policy decision so that you have the coverage you need. If that's not reason enough, talk to one of our happy clients. Our client satisfaction scores are 3 times the industry average. To experience the Goosehead Insurance difference, visit us online at goosehead.com or call us at 800-474-1377.